Hello guys, you are here today with Code Purpose. We are going to start off by doing an exercise using classes, and I'm going to walk you through it. So let's just read the text. We will need to write a program where we will define a class called Operating System to present an operating system with this private data. We will need a name, which will be of type char and it will be dynamically allocated. We will need a version, which will be of type integer, capacity type integer, and these following public members. We will need a constructor for initialization of private data, a constructor with parameters, with default arguments, and a copy constructor. We will also need get and set functions for private data. We will need to define the input function that reads the data for an operating system object or define operator. Outside of the class, we will need a max capacity function that takes an array of objects of the operating system type and finds the operating system with greater capacity. In the main program, we will need to write a code that reads data for n or two operating system objects and prints operating system data with lower capacity. We will also need to define a print function to print the information of an operating system or define the operator. So let's do it. First, we will need to define a class, which of course we will name it Operating System. We will need private and public members. At private, we had this kind of data. We had name, which was dynamically allocated, integer version, and integer capacity. At the public part, we needed a constructor. How do we do a constructor? We need the name of the class, which is operating system. And inside of the brackets, we need three parameters because inside of the private members, we have also three parameters. Const, char, and we will also need to give it default arguments. Is equal to 0 and integer cap is equal to 0. Because name is dynamically allocated, we will need to do these following rules, if I might say. Name is equal to new char, string length of n plus 1. And since this is a string, we will need string copy, name, n. Because the other two parameters are not dynamically allocated, we will just need to do version is equal to v and capacity is equal to cap. Now we will also need a copy constructor. How do we do a copy constructor? Well, it's kind of the same as a constructor, just it has a few rules, I might say. Operating system. Inside of the brackets, we write operating system, OS, and we just copy this, paste it here, and inside of the brackets, we write os.name, os.version, os.name, os.app. Capacity. We will also need a destructor. How do we do a destructor? It's the same, just in front we write a tilde, I think it was called. Operating system, inside of the brackets will have nothing, and we will need to delete the name since it was dynamically allocated. Now let's take a look at the text. What do we have next? Yeah, we will need get and set functions for private data. Void set name. We will just copy this, paste it here, and do the same as well for the following two parameters. Void set version is equal to v, and the same with capacity. Void set capacity is equal to cap. Now we will need get functions. Char get name const return name. The same with the following two parameters. Integer get version const return version. Integer get capacity const return capacity. Now we are done with the get functions. Let's take a look what we needed next. We need to define the input function that reads the data for an operating system object. Void input, and let's just start reading them. Cout reading an operating system, and line cout input the name, scene name, cout input the version, scene version, and the same with capacity, cout input capacity, scene capacity. Now the exercise said that we needed to do the void input function or define the operator. Let's do the operator too. To do the operator, we will need the friend. Since we will be inputting, we need eStream operator. eStream input operating system OS. We just copy this, paste it here. Now the only difference between this and this is wherever we have syn, we write input, and instead of name we write os.name. The same with the following two parameters, os.version, os.capacity, delete syn, write input, and we will need to return input. Return input. Now, since we read them, we will need to print them. Let's do the same void print cout operating system name with what kind of version, has capacity, and line. The exercise said the same thing as the input. We needed to do or the print function or define the operator. Let's do the operator as well. Friend. Now we will need OStream since we'll be outputting. Operator. OStream out operating system OS. We copy, we paste. Instead of cout, we just write out. And in front of every variable, you write os.name, os.version, and I didn't write capacity. os.name, os.version, and os.capacity, and line. And we will need to return out. I think we are done with our class. Let's just take a look at the exercise if we forgot something. Yeah, we are done with the class. Now outside of the class we need the max capacity function. Operating system max capacity operating system OS integer n. Now we will need integer I, we will need max, and we will need a max index, which it will be equal to 0. Max is equal to os 0 dot get capacity. Now we will need a loop for I is equal to 1, I is lower than n, plus plus. Now we will need the condition if max is lower than os of I dot get capacity, then max is equal to os of I dot get capacity, and the max index is equal to I. We will just need to return os max index. Max index. Yeah, we are done with our max capacity function. Now let's just take a look at the exercise. In the main program, we will need to write a code that's read data for n or 2 operating system objects and print the operating system data with the lower capacity. Now we will need a n, which will tell us how many operating systems we want. Cout, give the number of operating systems. We read n, and we create objects. Operating system, OS, n. Now we will need a loop for I is equal to 0, I is lower than n, I plus plus, integer, and we read cn os of I. Or we could do it like this. Which one you like? It's basically the same thing. Now we will need a minimum, which will be equal to os of 0 dot get capacity, and we will need a minimum index which will be equal to 0. Now we will need another loop for I is equal to 1, I is lower than n, I plus plus. Now basically the same as the max capacity function, just differently we find the minimum. We do the condition if minimum is bigger than os of e dot get capacity, then minimum is equal to os of I dot get capacity, and minimum index is equal to I. Now we will just need to print them. Cout the operating system with less capacity is end line cout os minimum index the operating system with the most capacity is cout. No, I'm sorry. We have the max capacity function. OS n. Yeah, we don't need that line. Let's just see if we have any errors. Yeah, we have error at line 81. Oh, yeah, I declared it as a reference. Yeah, sorry, my bad. We don't need to do that. We don't need to do that at all. Yeah, we forgot the brackets as well. Now it should be good. Yeah. Let's give 3 OSs. Windows, version 2, capacity 50. Linux, version 4, capacity 40. Mac OS version 6, capacity 20. The OS with less capacity is OS macOS with the version 6 and has 20 capacity, and the OS with the most capacity is let's see what's the problem. Oh yeah, I didn't print it. My bad, sorry. Print. Now it should work perfectly. Windows. Three. Windows 450. Linux 340. Mac OS version 5 and input capacity 20, and there you have it. If you have any questions, please leave it below the comments. We will try to reply as soon as we can. Please leave a like, subscribe, and have a nice day.